to Kicking It with Kids. Today we have a super fun topic that I know I need a lot of help with personally, and that is some more college advice. My name is Simran Dubey, and I go to Atlantic Coast High School.
My name's Qais Jamwal, and I go to Creekside High School.
My name's Nikita Majatia, and I go to Creekside High School.
My name is Anika Kapil, and I go to Nice High School. And our two special guests for today are Sneha Kapil and Aanchal Shah. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Of course. My name is Aanchal. I go to the University of Florida. I'm an honors student here. I'm about to graduate, which is sad, but I do have lots and lots of tips about high school. In high school, I was part of the International Baccalaureate program at Nice. I was also a Nice Pantherette. I was vice president of the National Honor Society, and I started my own club there too. So lots of stuff in high school and even more things in college that I'm excited to tell you guys about.
And my name is Sneha. I go to Florida State University, and like Aanchal, I also went to Nice High School and did the IB program. In high school, I was involved in the varsity tennis team, so I was on that for all 4 years. And I also did concert band for 3 years. I played the clarinet, so that was fun. And I was also part of this volunteer group called Blessings in a Backpack. So those are just some of the things that I did in high school. And then moving on to FSU, I'm a presidential scholar at FSU. I'm in the honors program. And yeah, I'm excited to be here, excited to see what questions you guys have.
To start off, our first question was, we know how important it is, but how do you look like a well-rounded student on your college applications?
So I feel like the most important thing to understand is that colleges want to see that you are not just a bookworm. They want to see that you're doing lots of things. So I think getting involved in something you're passionate about, whether that's a sport or a hobby, that is really important. Like Sneha mentioned, she did varsity tennis, and I did the Nice Pantherettes, which now I'm recalling that not many people might not know might know what that is. That's the varsity dance team at my high school. So I think getting involved in something that you're passionate about is very important, and that'll help you look all around it. And also making sure that you're involved in clubs in high school and staying involved in them. I think doing a club for a couple of days versus doing a club for all 4 years of high school, there's a huge difference. So continuity and making sure you're doing things that you care about outside of school.
And just to add to that, another tip that I would give is that it's important not to spread yourself too thin also with the amount of clubs you're doing. I think it's more impressive to be in 4 or 5 clubs that you're super involved in, you have leadership positions in, you're really taking a proactive role in those clubs and pushing the boundaries of what that organization does versus just being a member in 10 different clubs. So it's really important to choose clubs and organizations that you're really passionate about and you do want to get involved in, and you want to do more than just be a member, because that'll really show when you start talking about the different experiences and stuff that you've had in your college applications.
So this is something I struggle in a lot. I don't exactly know what I want to be when I get older. So how would I pick my classes, clubs, and honor societies based off of what I do?
I would say, even if sometimes you can have passions, even if that's not what you want to do for the rest of your life. Let's say you really care about the environment, and maybe you don't want to be an environmental scientist, but you still really care about the environment. You can get involved in stuff like that, like a conservation club or a garden club, thrifting, all of those types of things that show your interest, but maybe that's not necessarily what you want to do for the rest of your life. But you still have those passions that you want to follow. And I think that's just the most important thing, is to choose to be involved in things that you care about, because based on your essays and the way you write, college admissions officers have been doing this for a long time. So they can tell when a student's just writing something just generic because they think that's what they need to get in, versus when you're writing about something that you truly care about and have been involved in and want to be involved in. So really look for stuff that is not just a resume filler to you that you think you need. Look for stuff that you really actually care about, like social issues or volunteering that you think is actually really benefiting the community, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be what you want to do for the rest of your life, and colleges know that, and that's okay.
And just to add on to what she was saying, I know part of your question was also about picking classes. And coming from someone who's about to graduate college, I can tell you that taking a bunch of AP classes or dual enrollment college level courses in high school, it definitely does pay off. It'll teach you how to study for a college level class, and it'll also allow you to skip some of the general credits that you would need to take in college. So when you're picking classes, even if psychology is not something you necessarily see yourself going into, but just like Sneha said, if you're somewhat interested in how the brain works, then like definitely sign up for that AP psychology class, because you'll get to learn more and you'll get to get out of a general credit in college, and you'll be saving money in the long run.
I know you both have obviously done so much. We've heard all of your amazing accomplishments, and I struggle with personally is I'm involved in clubs and I'm trying to do well in school, and I don't particularly know how to kind of organize my day efficiently anymore, because I'm at school for a certain amount of time and then I have a sport and then other things come up and then I end up doing my homework at like 10 o'clock at night. So how do you start to kind of organize your days efficiently and most beneficially for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that's something that you're going to run into your entire life, because if you're passionate about things that are outside of school, you're definitely going to want to join all those clubs and stuff in college. So what I have found really works for me is using a planner. I always, at the beginning of the school year, I will go on my annual planner shopping run and find a planner that I think is really cute and something that I'll actually use. And that's important, because if it's something that doesn't catch my eye, then I feel like I'm not going to use it. So I pick a planner that I really like and I stick to it. I'll write down everything that I need to get done for school. And I'll also write down everything, like all of my extracurricular activities. And as things get done, I cross them off. And that is really helpful for me. And I also started doing the Pomodoro study method, where when you are studying, you study for like 25 minutes or 30 minutes in one chunk, and then take like a 5-minute break. And that way you're not tempted to be on your phone the entire time. You can just put your phone away for those 30 minutes and really get as much work done as you can. And that way you won't be up till super late at night trying to get everything done.
Yeah, and I think another part of it is just like figuring out when you're most efficient, almost. Like, if sometimes you are more efficient when you have a little bit of a time crunch, so it's okay to like, like don't feel bad for working more efficiently under a time crunch or something like that. And I would say also just like when you make your to-do list, just like prioritize what order you want to get things done in as well. Like, oh, this due date is coming up, so I need to finish this first before I start working on my math homework. I need to write this essay that's due in 2 days, so just also making your to-do list kind of in rank order of what needs to get done first. And then so it doesn't seem as daunting of like just this big list of all these things you need to do. I think ranking it really helps me also just focus on what I need to get done in order, kind of.
So after finishing high school, what's like the biggest thing you learned, or what aspect of high school did you find that you struggled with the most?
That's a good question. I would say, I think those were kind of two questions. So the first question about the biggest thing I learned, I think taking like kind of like what Aanchal said about taking all those AP and IB courses, really when I got to college, I learned that I could write a lot like faster and more efficient than a lot of the other students that were there, because I had all that like practice. So really like those writing skills that you're learning now, and like learning to be efficient in those writing skills, and how to effectively write an essay, and especially that is so important for whatever field you're going to go into. It's just a life skill. It really is. Learning to write, no matter where you go, you're always going to have to do that. And I guess the second part of your question was, what was like the hardest thing to overcome, kind of? And I think it was kind of like finding that motivation towards the end of high school to keep going. But I think just having a good support system with your friends or your family, and just remembering that you're a lot, like some of your classes you're passionate about and you're excited to learn those things. So just remembering that like learning can be fun, even if homework kind of sucks sometimes. Like education is really cool, and being able to learn all of that. So just like remembering that in the back of your head when you're really like struggling one night to finish that paper, finish that homework. I don't know, that's kind of what keeps me going.
Yeah, I completely agree, Sneha. And I think another thing I wanted to add was finding a study group. This is more applicable in college, I would say, than high school. But if you can find a couple of friends who you study really well with, and when I say friends, I mean they can be your best friends, but sometimes your best friends are the ones you talk to the most when you are doing your work. So definitely find someone who's a very good friend, but also you can work well with. And sometimes just having that companionship, even if you're on FaceTime with them on mute, that in itself is motivation enough to get through your work so that you can have some fun time with them afterwards.
Yeah, and I know, Sneha, you were talking about like running out of steam at the end. And right now I'm a junior and I feel like I'm going 150% all the time, just because like college is kind of looming now. Like it feels really far away, but also like I've been told like make sure you start your college apps the summer before senior year. And that's in like 4 months. And that's crazy to me. But once I finish that, I kind of am always confused, like, what do I do after? Like, I have no more like motivation to keep on going. Because right now it's like I'm doing everything for college, you know, whether it be running for this type of club president or doing this or getting the best grades I can. And it's just, how do you keep performing at the same level or at a similar level, even though there's not that kind of treat at the end that you're looking for?
I think that's definitely a hard one. I think senioritis is something everyone experiences, including myself right now in college. So I think what is really important to keep in mind is that colleges are still watching you, even though you have been accepted or you're in the application cycle. And if they see a sudden dip in all of your grades, they're going to question it. So just keeping that in the back of your mind, like, okay, I'm still being watched. It is not the end of the race yet. That's something that definitely at least helped me get through senioritis. And also know that at the very end of senior year, like that summer before college, in my opinion, is the best summer ever, because you have spent 4 years with all these friends, and now none of you have any volunteering or programs to do over the summer because everyone's in college by then. So that's the summer where you can really just spend time with the people you love and doing what you love.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, like going back to that support system of like finding your friends and being like, okay, we're all in this together. Like we're gonna get through this. It's okay to rant to your friends and like be like, oh my God, I hate this assignment or whatever, you know, whatever gets you through. I think that's just like the biggest thing, is finding a community to support you and work with and all of that. So I think that's really what gets you through it, is like the people you're surrounded by.
So another one of my questions was like college, like when you compare it to high school, it's so much bigger and there's like so many different people and things to do. So like how do you like find what you want to do, or like how do you join clubs and all that stuff when there's like so much around you?
That's a good question, especially with public universities in Florida being so large. I think for me, honors was a really big way that I found a lot of my friends. But even if you're not in honors, just finding like a club that when you go to, you kind of like connect with the people there. So also for me, another place where I found a lot of friends was the Asian American Student Union at FSU. So just organizations like that. Usually colleges have like a website that you can go to where they have all their student organizations just listed out, and they also have involvement fairs. So I really recommend going to those. You'll be able to see like all the different clubs on campus, and they'll talk to you, like the leadership in those clubs will talk to you and be like, hey, this is what we do you want to get involved? And you can kind of get like the vibe of what that club is about before you decide to join. So that's really, really helpful, I think, as well. I think that mostly answered your question. I don't know if you want to throw in anything, Aanchal.
Yeah, I was just going to say that along with everything Sneha said, I think what we were talking about earlier about sticking to what you're really passionate about, even in college, it completely applies. And it is daunting. There are like thousands of organizations in college, but I know that I found a lot of my friends through the Center for Arts and Medicine Research Lab, which is something that I was really passionate about, and also through an Indian dance team, Gator Ross. And since those were things that I really cared about, I really enjoyed putting my time into it. And when you put a lot of time into something, you're gonna become friends with the people that are in that organization, just by the nature of it. So definitely when you get to college, first find something that you care about and are willing to put in the time for, and then your friendships will essentially blossom from there, in my opinion.
So another question I had was, like, in high school and even in college, how do you find like a good balance between like your social life, like hanging out with your friends, and then also keeping up your grades at school and making sure you finish all your homework? Like, how do you find a good balance between the two things?
It is a hard question. It is definitely hard to balance social life, extracurriculars, sleep, studying, all the things. It always feels like something is lacking, and that's okay. Know that you're not alone if you feel like, oh my God, I didn't get enough sleep that night, or oh my God, I haven't hung out with my friends yet. That's pretty normal. But I think something to keep in mind are some of the things we've talked about earlier, like finding friends that you're able to study with, even if it's on FaceTime, on mute. If you're doing that Pomodoro method, that means 30 minutes of studying and 5 minutes of talking in between. And another thing is like the organizations you join. I know for me in high school, a lot of my best friends came from the Nice Pantherettes team because I ended up spending almost all of my extra time with them. So making friends within the clubs and extracurriculars that you're doing is a great way to kind of combine social life and your extracurriculars, because I know for me, like we would have games on Friday night and all of us would be exhausted, but that would be the time that we would have our social life because we'd all have a sleepover afterwards. And it really worked out because who else can you have a sleepover with that'll be awake at like 11 p.m. to start the sleepover with, other than the people you were already up with. So definitely, I think finding friends to study with and then also finding friends within the extracurriculars that you're doing is a great way to make sure you're kind of hitting all the check marks of life.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say, is making like the extra time you spent out of school in your extracurriculars, studying, doing those with your friends and having friends. So it feels like you're socializing and having fun, even when you're, doing things that you're committed to. Yeah.
So, do you guys have any tips on things that we didn't really touch on in our questions, or just some generalized advice to all the high schoolers out there that are just trudging through the waters right now?
I feel like my biggest piece of advice, I guess, would be is just like don't feel like you have to do everything. It is very easy to get burnt out, like you said. And so like we've kind of been, I feel like this has kind of been the theme of this podcast, is find the things that you really care about, that you're really passionate about, and focus on those, focus your energy on those. And that way, even when you are like doing work, doing things you're committed to, it feels fun because it's something you want to do, not something you feel like you have to do just to put it on a piece of paper, just to fill out all the lines on your resume. Because in the long run, that's also what's going to benefit you in getting into college, is having things that you really are passionate about, that's going to give you more to write about, more to talk about in your interviews, that's going to make you stand out as well, being really involved in a couple of things that you really care about. It's going to make your application stand out, and people are going to be able to tell when they read your application. So don't spread yourself too thin. Don't feel like you have to be involved in a million different clubs. Just pick the ones that you really care about, pick the issues that you really care about, and focus on those, and have fun while you're doing it. Try to have as much fun as you can, and make it fun with your friends. And yeah, I think that's really the biggest thing.
Yeah, and the only thing I'd want to add is don't be too hard on yourself. You know, high school is hard, college is hard, school is hard in general. But just know that whenever you find your study routine, just stick to it and don't let other people say, well, that's weird. You wake up at 6 a.m. to study. Like, no, if it works for you, go for it. And also, I would say rely on your support system. Like your parents, your friends, your family, they're all here to help you. Everyone is essentially rooting for you. So use them as resources, and use the people around you as resources. Like, I'm sure Sneha is going to agree with me, but Sneha and I are always here if any of you have any questions about high school, about college, and you can feel free to reach out to us at any point in time, and also reach out to people that you are also very close with who have been through it before, because they can help you. They know by experience what it's like to be a high school student in Jacksonville, Florida. So yeah, I think those are my two biggest things: rely on your support system and don't be too hard on yourself.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I know I learned so much and feel much better about myself now than I did prior to this. I really just absorbed all the information you guys gave, because you are such good role models and resources, especially regarding this topic. To everybody else out there, make sure you are watching out for any new videos and to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye.